Hi, I'm Technovoid, and today we're going to be talking about the Hollow Knight Iceberg, made by GenoCraft on Reddit. For those who don't know what an iceberg is, it's a large floating mass of ice detached from a glacier or ice sheet and carried out to sea, but that's not important right now. More specifically, the iceberg meme is used to show facts and theories of varying levels of obscurity on a certain topic. The lower down into the depths you go, the more obscure the information gets. I'll be doing my best to explain all the topics covered on the Hollow Knight Iceberg so that you can be burdened with the most terrifying gift of all, knowledge. But before we get into it, really quick plug for myself, please, if you enjoy the video, consider subscribing, and hey, liking the video and commenting really helps me out in the algorithm. Also, feel free to check out my Twitch and Discord down in the description as well if that sort of thing tickles your fancy. Alright, let's get into it. First, we've got Menderbug. Menderbug is an NPC in Hollow Knight that has a 2% chance to appear if the knight destroys the sign at the bottom of the Crossroads well, leaves the room, and then re-enters. Menderbug will be fixing up the broken sign and will quickly fly away upon seeing the knight. However, if the knight uses Desolate Dive, the Menderbug won't have time to escape and will end up being killed. After his death, his house opens up in the bottom right of the Crossroads map, near where Sly was found, which houses Menderbug's diary. The entries within the diary read as such. Dear, dear diary, isn't life just the most beautiful thing? Fixing signs, mending posts, let them break, I say. I'm a better mender for all that repairing. I sometimes doubt there's a single bug in Hallownest happier than me. Hello again, diary. Not long now till the next Mender Bash. For us stealthy types, we're a riotous bunch when we get together. And Mender Barry kept flashing me that smile. Might be time to muster up the courage and act on it. I love my home and my life, but sharing it with another, why that'd be the berry on top. My lovely diary, someone's gone and broken my favorite sign, right there at the top of the Crossroads. Keeps happening too. But you know, I just can't get mad about it. I should be thanking them really. More chances to fix that beautiful complex sign. And I've stocked up on spare parts, so I've no fear it'll ever stay broken for long. So yeah, it's pretty messed up that you just kill this dude. He's arguably the purest cinnamon roll in the game, but you don't get to find that out until after you brutally murder him. Next is the Green Beast. This is one of the skeletons left from an ancient civilization. The skeleton with the file name Green Beast is specifically the one in the Queen's Gardens, a giant skeleton with 6 eye sockets. Not much else is known about this creature, but it shares resemblance to some of the other creatures that died before Hallownest was created. Moving on to Hungry Knight, this was Team Cherry's first game. Created during a game jam with the theme of 10 seconds, Hungry Knight sees the same title character as Hollow Knight, who has a hunger meter that depletes after 10 seconds. The goal of the game is to keep yourself fed while fighting foes to resurrect your dead friend. Team Cherry really liked the aesthetic they came up with for Hungry Knight, so they decided to flesh out an entire game around it. Hungry Knight should still be available to play on Newgrounds if you're interested. The Blundering Obelisk is an enemy that was cut from the final game. They appeared to be a centipede-esque creature that would attack the player by charging at them. Not much else is known about them, but we do have a description of them from update number 3 from the Kickstarter. This placid herbivore doesn't seem to wish harm on any of the creatures it shares a habitat with. However, its careless nature and bulky weight sometimes lead to messy accidents. What a cutie! The Forest of Bones is another piece of cut content from Hollow Knight and was originally planned to be the biggest area in the game. It was a sprawling area filled with lava and, well, bones, and would have been the resting place for one of the Dreamers. It was originally located where Crystal Peak is found, but was later moved to the bottom of the map because Ari didn't like the idea of having a lava area near the top of the map. The lava was going to be an instant kill and the area was going to have 50 unique enemies, strange creatures clad in the bones of dead giants. The Monarch Wings were going to be acquired from the area after a boss fight against a huge bony creature, and the area was planned to have lightable torches and gates that could be opened. Eventually, the area was scrapped because its size placed too many constraints on the rest of Hallownest, and it was replaced with the Ancient Basin. However, Hollow Knight Silksong appears to have an area very reminiscent of the Forest of Bones, so this may not be the last we hear of it. Finally, to round out the iceberg's tip, we've got the Snail Village. This was another area cut from the final game, but was present in A Weird and Wonderful World trailer from December of 2014. The area was eventually cut because the snail NPC was too large and the cartoony style didn't fit the rest of Hollow Knight's aesthetics. Team Cherry has noted that the snail was likely repurposed into Bardoon, an old caterpillar located in Kingdom's Edge. Starting the next layer of the iceberg off, we have this quote which just reads, "Father?" This is a cut piece of Dreamnail dialogue from the Hollow Knight. While the Hollow Knight is immune to the Dreamnail in the final game, originally they were planned to have lines like, "This vessel, broken, fails," and "Kill the usurper, our light it would suffocate," along with several other lines that appear to be the Radiance's thoughts. However, one line simply reads, "Father," which would be the Hollow Knight's trace amounts of individuality peeking through, as its attachment to the Pale King and desire to make him proud are what inevitably prevented THK from being fully hollow and successfully sealing the Radiance forever. Backdashing is another piece of cut content, and was originally planned to operate like the Mothwing cloak, but in reverse and with less distance. Team Cherry removed the backdash because it kills the flow of combat more than it adds to it, and was basically identical to turning around and dashing away. The game files still have a value called can backdash, which is set to 0, but changing this value doesn't actually affect the game at all. However, it is possible to backdash in the Hollow Knight beta by pressing the Crystal Heart button. If two backdashes are chained together, the knight will do a little spin in a third, longer backdash. We also see something akin to a backdash in Hornet's Silksong moveset, but not too much is known about that at the time of this video. Playable Zote is in reference to the Hollow Knight Kickstarter's campaign stretch goals. At $68,000, a third playable character was promised, with the silhouette in the image being that of Zote. While this stretch goal was not reached, Team Cherry has potentially still used some pieces of the unmet goals in the final game, such as the Abyss expansion. With the stretch goal of the second playable character being turned into a full new game as Hollow Knight Silksong, one common meme in the community is that another game in the form of Hollow Knight Zoteboat will be released. While another sequel to Hollow Knight after Silksong is still possible, Team Cherry has said that their next project will be exploring a new universe, so it may be a while before we see them return to the world of the Knight. The Abyss creature can be found in the room containing the Lifeblood core charm, with a giant dark head covered in eyes the same color as Lifeblood. It sits in the background and moves slightly up and down, and cannot be interacted with, and the sprite files only include a head for this creature, known as the Abyss creature. It can also be seen in the Lifeblood room in Godhome, which strengthens its connection to Lifeblood and dreams in general, while also giving a good reason to believe it is a being with great power. Dreamnailing the Lifeblood plant in Godhome spreads Lifeblood throughout the area, which may be a part of this creature's abilities. The Trilobite statue is a shrine that can be found deep within the beast's den in Deepnest. The file names call this area a shrine, but it is unknown if the object itself is a corpse or a statue, although it has some resemblance to a trilobite, a now extinct marine creature that was one of the earliest known types of arthropods. Hitting the object with the nail will result in the metal clinking sound, and hitting it with spells causes a seal to appear over the shrine. Not much else is known about this object, but again we may hear more about it in Silksong, as it could very well have some deeper significance to Hornet and the Weavers. Young Elderbug was originally seen in a cut mechanic known as Dream Diving, in which the knight would use the Dreamnail to enter an NPC's Dream Well, a deep space containing a bug's hopes, fears, and secrets. These areas would present the knight with unique challenges to the NPC involved that would lead to startling revelations and precious treasures that wouldn't be available anywhere else. In the Dreamnail trailer, we see the knight entering Elderbug's Dreamwell and being greeted by a younger version of the character. Dream Diving was cut from the final game because it ended up feeling really disjointed and distracting from exploring the world. The Gruzmother room statues references 3 statues that were present in the background of early gameplay footage of the Gruzmother battle. 2 of these statues are of the Pale King and the White Lady, and although the third statue is broken, it's likely that this was a statue of the Hollow Knight based on some earlier sketches of the area. The Battle of the Black Worm is only mentioned once in the game within the Hunter's Journal entry for the White Defender. Ogrim's dialogue within the journal reads, "The Champion's Call, the Knotted Grove, the Battle of the Black Worm, I remember it all. I will carry these glories with me always, until we meet again." None of these events are mentioned anywhere else in the game, so they will likely stay a mystery unless Team Cherry does a deeper dive on the Great Knights of Hallownest. Finally, to end off this section, we have the Shrine of Believers. This is a secret area hidden within the resting grounds. The Spirit Glade is a subsection of the resting grounds which houses most of the Kickstarter backer spirits. Within this area, there is a room with several moth statues on the right side, with its location marked by a waterfall. Jumping into the top left corner of this room and dreamnailing the largest moth statue's head will take the knight to the Shrine of Believers, a building full of backer messages written on breakable tablets. There is an unnamed moth who guards the shrine, who says the following: "You who pry into even the most hidden of dreams, take heed. Recorded within this shrine are utterings from another world. Though the words may seem strange, remember they come from minds different to ours, the minds of a group united in mysterious cause. To believe or disbelieve, the choice is yours." If the player then destroys all the tablets inside the shrine, the moth will say, "Such destruction. Is this your way of honoring those who believe? The riddles and ramblings may seem to us meaningless, or undecipherable, or grotesque. But if they did not believe, what would become of you and I?" They also have Dreamnail dialogue that reads, "When many voices gather, great or terrible things are sure to come." Well, I'll go ahead and say it. These voices gathered and something amazing sure did happen, alright. Moving on to Esme. This is a character that Sly mentions when you find him under the effects of the infection. On first encounter, Sly will say, "Esme, how much deeper do we have to go?" Potentially implying that Esme was a friend or perhaps a client that Sly was accompanying down into the Crossroads. There has been speculation on whether or not Esme might be a nickname for Isma of the Five Great Knights, or a character related to the Nailmasters, but no canonical details about Esme are known other than that they are still someone that lingers in Sly's dreams. The Eternal Ordeal menu theme is in reference to the menu theme unlocked after beating 57 Zotes in the Eternal Ordeal, a secret battle accessible in the Hall of Gods in which the player must beat back an endless number of Zotelings until they run out of health. The requirement of 57 Zotes defeated is in reference to the 57 Precepts of Zote, and the menu theme features a statue of Zote while the music is replaced with Zote himself singing the main menu theme. Poggy Thorax is a spirit created by backer Josh Clark, and can be found in a hidden room in the Pleasure House in the City of Tears on the right side of the elevator shaft. When spoken to, he will say, "Skroink, you look pretty skinny, very scrawny. That's the way to be, I reckon. Just look at me, a great big, juicy, fatty, oily, scrumptious bug. No wonder I'm so popular around here. I've been waiting an awfully long while. Surely it's dinner time soon." Poggy Thorax's spirit appears in a room filled with rancid food and corpses, and based on his visual similarities to a pig, as well as his dialogue, it seems that the upper caste of Hallownest nobles may have engaged in some forms of cannibalism, although this is not confirmed. Next up is Glorify Charms, and this refers to a piece of cut content from the Godmaster DLC, back when it was known as the Gods and Glory DLC. Glorifying Charms was essentially an upgrading system for the charms that was cut because Team Cherry didn't have enough time to implement it and due to the difficulty they encountered in trying to balance a whole new system for the upgrades. The Grim Troop Mask Room is a hidden room inside of Grimm's tent that becomes accessible when the Nightmare King Grimm fight becomes available. This room can be found by wall jumping through the ceiling in the corridor between the stage and Grimm's sleeping area, and is filled with many Grimmkin masks, a couple of chests, and a large device with a seal protecting it. This device is listed in the files as a chart, so it is possible that it is some sort of map that the troop uses to navigate, either through the physical world or the Nightmare Realm. The Land of Storms is a sub-area in Godhome, accessible west of the Upper Hot Spring after completing every binding in every Pantheon. After going through the crack, the knight ends up in a small area with wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, along a short path littered with ancient ruins and Godseeker masks. At the end of the area is a room with 2 large corpses and the Weathered Mask, an optional entry in the Hunter's Journal that provides lore on the Godseekers. The Godseekers are originally from this land and worship the gods of thunder and rain, but left when these gods forsook them. The corpses in this area may be those of the gods of thunder and rain, although this is unconfirmed. After completing the first 3 Pantheons, dreamnailing the Godseeker in the Junk Pit has a 2% chance to warp the knight into an area other than Godhome. This area bears some resemblance to the Howling Cliffs and leads to a partially obscured Godseeker as well as a tuning device, which, after being inspected, removes the knight from the dream, after which the memory cannot be accessed again. This memory may potentially have some connections with the Land of Storms, especially if the memory takes place after the Godseekers were forsaken and ended up traveling in the direction of Hallownest. The original Fungal Wastes refers to an old version of the game's map in which several areas, likely including Greenpath, Queen's Gardens, Fog Canyon, and the Fungal Wastes, were originally one larger area with greenery and spores. We can see bits and pieces of this area in early trailers that had a similar aesthetic but later ended up being split into different areas, and also see on the Kickstarter campaign that the Fungal Waste description included mentions of a beautiful network of verdant flora and royal greenhouses falling apart. Pointy Mouth Hornet is something I honestly cannot explain. As far as I'm aware, Hornet doesn't have a visible mouth, as she shares this similarity with the vessels in the Pale King, her father. Hornet's head shape would probably result in her mouth being at the bottom point of her mask, which is sort of pointy, I guess? Otherwise, I'm not sure what this is referring to. Early Salubra voice is in reference to the Beneath and Beyond trailer, in which Salubra appears and has a higher pitched voice than she does in the final game. Not much else to say on this one. And to end off this level, we have the Giant Geo Deposit, a one-time source of Geo that can be found in the Kingdom's Edge by breaking a wall on the right side of a southeast room with a Great Hopper and many spike pits. This pathway goes deep underground and ends up in an area that looks like it might be part of the ancient basin or the abyss, and has a giant deposit of Geo that can be broken to obtain 420 Geo. Notably, the Geo deposit itself has a striking resemblance to arcane eggs, which also have connections to the abyss and the civilization predating Hallownest. The first topic to discuss in this section is the Extended Elegy for Hallownest. This is another piece of cut content, as the Elegy for Hallownest can be found in the files with many extra lines. The full elegy reads, "In wilds beyond, they speak your name with reverence and regret, for none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch, you taught, you changed, base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. Our cherished dreams you granted, and delivered more. But in dismay you found too late our desires had no end. What cost to tame our savagery? You gave your all and then gave more. Yet still desires lay unquenched, more dreams remained, your energy spent. Amongst it sprang a dreadful scourge, that forced return our aggressive urge, and turned us back to beasts or husks, our souls consumed by light above. Within your corpse can still be heard the plaintive cries of one, who took our pain and loss and dreams inside itself too. Through its pain we found a truth that must now be confessed, for nothing can contain such things but perfect emptiness." Next up is the Dung Defender saying Isma. This one is pretty clear cut. When finding the Dung Defender sleeping in his cave, he'll mutter a number of indecipherable things, but one of the words he says is Isma. Isma. In reference to his close connection to her during their time together as Great Knights. Ogrim protects Isma's grove and is known to be quite fond of her, so this is an unsurprising, albeit still pretty sad, piece of trivia about Ogrim. Hive in Deepnest refers to an earlier version of the map in which the hive was accessed from Deepnest. It was later moved to the other side of the map near Kingdom's Edge. Kickstarter example characters refers to some artwork made by Team Cherry to show off the Tier 8 and Tier 9 backer rewards for designing a character and designing a boss. The examples include a giant bookish flute girl as an NPC and a bomb-throwing moth as a boss. And frankly, these characters are adorable, and that's not speculation. Team Cherry just doesn't know how to design something badly, I think. Nailsmith's extra legs is simply a reference to the promotional art for the Nailsmith having an extra pair of legs that were not included in the final game. Maybe he cut them off with a pure nail or something? Winged Life Seed is a cut version of the Life Seed with, you'll never guess this, wings. It never made it into the final game, but these life seeds would presumably fly away instead of running after their cocoon was broken by the player. Record Bella was originally intended to be another lore tablet located in the Soul Sanctum. The final version of the Sanctum has records Abba and Senda, which notably leaves a record that starts with B missing. Well, Record Bela was going to be the missing link, but was cut for unknown reasons. The record read as such: Record Bella. To manipulate a soul, reformation of the mind must first occur. Few can bear such change. The path to true progress is littered with mistakes. The surface is actually underground too refers to the entire kingdom of Hallownest being underground, including Dirtmouth, Howling Cliffs, and Hallownest Crown. We cannot see the sky, the moon, or any stars at any point in the game, including the Mr. Mushroom cutscene which led to this theory. It was more recently soft confirmed by Matthew Griffin, also known as Leth, the Team Cherry marketing and PR guy, when he mentioned that they needed to make corrections to the physical Wanderer's Journal alongside removing words like sun, as these concepts don't exist within Hallownest's universe. Which makes sense, seeing as the entire world exists under Ari Gibson's couch. Ending off this section is Charged Lumaflies in the Crossroads, another pretty simple one to cover. In the game's first trailer, posted on November 18th, 2014, we see charged lumaflies acting as hazards in the room to the left of the area with Gruzmother and Salubra's shop. In the final game, charged lumaflies only appear in Green Path and Fog Canyon. Starting off with Tiso's moveset, Tiso Spencer, the backer for the character, may have mentioned at some point that Team Cherry asked him to make a moveset for the character. Whether this is true or not is unknown, but we can see from the original Tiso artwork that several combat features were included by the creator, including a horn-shaped head, a cloak for gliding on wind currents, and a shield that would be thrown as a weapon. This is in line with Tiso's dialogue in the game, where he hints that his shield conceals a deadly surprise. Unfortunately, due to his untimely death, we never get to see what the surprise is, but his fake-out boss animation in Pantheon 5 suggests that it may turn into a saw blade or propeller, or something of that nature. The Dusk Knight was a boss promised in the White Palace Kickstarter goal, alongside the King's Golem. Concept art for the King's Mold has been labeled as Dusk Knight, and William later confirmed during a Reddit AMA that the Dusk Knight and King's Golem had been combined into what we now know as the King's Mold. The Zote charm is a charm mentioned by William Pellin in a Reddit comment that never made it into the full game. The functionality would have been to make the knight die in one hit, similar to the Glass Soul mods which have since been made for the game by the community. Grey City of Tears is a reference to a GIF on the Hollow Knight Kickstarter page captioned, "The City Docks." The area in this GIF is a lot more grey in palette than anything else we have seen in the City of Tears. The Dirtmouth Fly NPC is yet another piece of cut content, and has never made an appearance outside of 2 images that were not made public. Both of these images are in Dirtmouth, implying that the NPC themselves, that bears some resemblance to a Gruzzer, would have been located there. Nothing else is known about this character. And finally, at the bottom of the abyss we have Mossbag's complete fanfics. This doesn't actually have anything to do with Hollow Knight itself, but rather a Big Bang Theory creepypasta that Mossbag, well-known Hollow Knight memer and lore tuber, has joked about writing. And that's it for the iceberg itself, but honestly, there are a lot of other fun pieces of trivia about Hollow Knight that have gone unmentioned. If you're interested, you should really take some time and look around for them. Speaking of Mossbag, he commented on Reddit with a few other possibilities for the obscure region on the iceberg, including the Faraway Grave and Lion Village on the prototype map, the latter possibly being in reference to antlions. Other pieces of trivia include this abyss monster that was going to be used as a boss in the lighthouse section, as well as weird random facts like how aspen mothers will have bigger infection explosions if you kill them after killing all their babies. Honestly, this game has so many interesting facts from development and the finished game, and if you're at all interested, you should really go do a deep dive. It's a lot of fun, and you're bound to find something new and exciting about this wonderful game. Anyways, that's it from me today. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you aren't already, and let me know down in the comments which of these topics was the most interesting or surprising to you. I've been Technovoid, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.